I used to be super like, anything you want, anything you say, whatever you want. I used to be that wife. But I'm not anymore. I'm head of my house. I am. I'm the one who's present. I'm the one who's around. It's hard for the girls to respect their dad when they see he has favorites.
Hey you guys, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a good day. It's Tuesday, January 18th. So we were talking yesterday about the Sister Wives episode, and this next week we're going to be seeing for the very first time Kody and Christine's relationship come to a screeching halt. Now this has been a long time coming, and I think for most of you that are on this channel that have followed our coverage of not only what we see on the show but what's on off the show, like the movements and properties and the documents and all the different things that happen off camera, you know that we have followed extensively the social media postings and habits of Christine and Kody to just sort of, we noticed a couple years ago that this relationship was starting to sour. And I think predicted before they even split that I thought they had split, and they have split. And this week we are finally going to see what happens between Kody and Christine. So to start off, we knew Without a Crystal Ball that things were not headed in the right direction, because back in November of 2020, Kody actually signed over the rights of the home. So he quick claim deeded the house that Christine owned, co-owned with him, to her independently. And he left the house. And so she then became the sole owner of a home, which we thought was odd. Like, why would he remove his name from the title? So then we noticed that she stopped posting photos of him on her social media. And then last season in the spring, when the last season aired, she did not interact at all on her Twitter. And Kody was very negative in all of his tweets about Christine. So for most of us that paid attention to the fine little details, we felt like this was about to erupt. And then right before the season aired, Christine announced that she and Kody had split. And initially we started to see coming out that Christine really just was tired of not being a priority to Kody. She felt like she could not compete with Robin. She was in a situation where she needed to put the needs of her children first. We saw at the very tail end of the last season where Meri and her are at the property, and she says, I can't do marriage with Kody anymore. So even before Kody cuts off their intimate relationship, she has said to Meri, I can't do this marriage with him anymore. So it's almost like he cuts off the intimacy, but it's like she had already left, if that makes sense. So she was not in a situation, then COVID erupts. So Kody puts in all these ridiculous rules that he doesn't follow. He picks and chooses when he follows. And everybody with a brain who has been paying attention to his rules doesn't seem to want to talk about the elephant in the room, that it doesn't matter if everyone follows these rules to a T. Kody's going in between houses, so theoretically he would be the one that would be passing around all of the germs. So even if he was perfect, he would still be spreading the virus. So it wouldn't even matter, which I think is why a lot of them were frustrated. Like, you're still running around spreading things, Dad. Christine decided that she was going to pick her family, and even in this last episode, she basically said that, you know, at one point in time, she was able to say, whatever, Kody, I'll do whatever you want. She was very passive. But this relationship has been unraveling for years. Like, I don't know if you guys paid attention to back in the early seasons, but she and Kody were struggling the minute Robin entered the picture. And I would venture to say they probably had issues maybe before that too. So she was stunned when Robin joined the family and was able to have a voice, and she never had a voice. And Robin was able to express her opinions, and she never felt like she could express her opinions. Well, this past week in the episode that we just saw, I forgot to talk with you about this in the recap I did. They were talking about how the kids struggle with whether or not they actually like respect Kody. And she flat out said that her girls do not respect Kody, and it's hard for them to respect Kody when it's very obvious that he has a favorite.
I'm head of my house. I am. I'm the one who's present. I'm the one who's around. It's hard for the girls to respect their dad when they see he has favorites.
And I think it's very clear that we know that she's talking about Robin, because this was in regards to Gabriel and Garrison blaming their father and saying that we thought, or confronting their father, saying that we thought this was all Robin's idea. And then Kody defending Robin, basically saying Robin is an obedient, submissive wife.
I'll tell you something that Robin has done from the very beginning of coming into our family. She sat her children down and she said, we're going into this family. You will be kind to this family. You will accept this family, and you will respect the parents, and you will respect Kody as your father.
It's very easy to judge on the surface this plural family because we've been lied to for more than a decade about their lives. And they've wanted to present this life that they're in a cohesive marriage where everyone is equal say and it's all fair and equitable. But that's simply not the case. Because in their belief system, the man is the head of the household and the man is the spiritual head. He's the priest of the family, giving the dad godlike authority over the family. So if the father is the priest of the family and the priesthood of the family, he is the God of the family, and everyone is supposed to bow down to the father, including the wives and all of the children. And the wives' purpose in this world is not to like have a equal marriage. Her role is to bring in as many kids for the priest so that he can go to the celestial kingdom, which we've talked about. So this idea that it's an equitable relationship where everyone's needs are being met is simply not true. In fact, endure to the end is simply something is a saying that they say a lot. And I talked with Kristen Decker about the endure to the end and how it's painful for everyone, even the men in these marriages. So her relationship with him was not equitable because as soon as a new wife came in, she started having babies. The babies are what brings him more goodies in heaven. And Robin had a personality that he could easily control. And she was brand new to the family, so she was likely going to be very receptive to Kody because he's willing to take on her kids and accept her children. And, you know, she has claimed, I could have dated anyone. I wanted to be in a plural marriage, you know, whatever. But she took on role of being obedient wife, and she was younger, quite a bit younger than the other ladies, I think 7-8 years. She was at the time had kids but not super young. Everyone said she was the prettier wife, which I think is debatable and it's irrelevant. But Kody had his eyes on her, and so she was the fresh meat, and she was not pushing back. He had no history with her. She wasn't tired of him yet. She was the new next thing. So he doesn't have to deal with a wife that once she gets annoying, he can let it go because he can find someone else to replace.
This is just fundamentally a problem in plural marriage. I mean, we literally have two households behaving very different. I'm the head of one of them.
And that's what happened to Christine. She wasn't replaceable for a long time, and then he brought in Robin. So Christine and Robin's relationship has always been tenuous. And now Kody is basically blaming Christine and Janelle for being bullies to Robin and not like making Robin a priority to the family and poisoning the family against Robin, which is so gross. Like Kody takes no responsibility in this situation whatsoever. So leading up to all of this, she says, I don't want to be in a marriage with Kody anymore to marry. She says, he has his favorites. I'm not going to abide by these rules because when he's here, it's tense and it's ugly and it's just not worth it. So the marriage was at a breaking point regardless. Kody put the final nail in the coffin when he said to her that he did not want to have an intimate relationship with her.
Anymore. I'm not okay with staying in a marriage where there's no intimacy. I don't know what to tell my kids.
Here is what I think why this precipitated her decision to leave. When she and Meri were on the property, she said that she did not want to have a marriage with Kody like Meri had with Kody. She said that she did not want to be in a situation where she just stayed with someone where there was no intimacy, where there was no physicalness, where it was just, we're married but we're not really together. She said, I don't want a marriage like Meri and Kody for me. That was in the very last episode of last season. Meri's been through a lot, but I don't want that. I want more. I want a partnership. So when he cuts that off and she had set that boundary, I think for her, that was the catalyst that it took for her to be like, okay, he has set the boundary. He has verbalized that he doesn't want to have an intimate relationship anymore. I can go.
I came out to the garage while I was at Christine's house. Kody's books, Kody's clothes. I guess I've been moved out of the house.
She was probably willing to put up with just about anything until he cut that out. And maybe that was like her final straw that broke the camel's back. So Kody had never had a wife actually leave him. So Kody, I think, was stunned with her decision because he has done this before. He's cut off physical contact with Meri and she didn't leave. She's still there, even though they're not married legally. They're spiritually married. So his kingdom wasn't interrupted. And I'm sure he knew that regardless, for over 25 years, he's been able to pit these women against each other. He's been able to say whatever he wants. They have pacified him. They have, gotten to a point where they pacified him. They didn't fight back. But Christine finally was done. And I think the catalyst of COVID, his rules, which I believe was doing to sabotage his relationships, my opinion. And then her saying to Meri, I don't want to have a marriage like you and Kody. Kody then presents the marriage that he wants with Christine, which is identical to what he has with Meri. And she says, I'm out. You see how that works? Did you connect all those dots? So now she's in a situation where she's set her boundary, she's left, and now she's in Utah, okay? We don't know if she's left the world of polygamy yet, but her daughters have chosen that they don't want to be in polygamy. Her son Peyton has said he's not going to be a polygamist. None of her kids plan to be polygamists. And I don't know, I could kind of see her not being a polygamist anymore, but she would have to give up all of the faith, and I don't know if she's there yet. It's not easy to leave a situation where you are indoctrinated to stay. And so when we realized that she held that boundary, I was so proud because I was like, she foreshadowed this. I don't want this marriage. He cuts off intimacy, it's done. Meanwhile, Meri is over having her 51st birthday. She's not with Kody, not celebrating with Kody. Kody doesn't say anything to her in the public, which he might not. He might have said it to her privately. But she is starting to look to a lot of people as much as you want to encourage and love on Meri, people are like being like, well, Meri, Christine could leave. Why are you staying? Why are you settling? And people settle for a lot of different reasons, and indoctrination is a serious thing. We can just only hope that at some point Meri decides she's had enough. And I don't know if she'll ever get there. Who knows? So Meri's like gonna try to work her way back into Kody's life. I don't know. Maybe she's like not even really a part of the marriage and she doesn't even think about it when cameras aren't rolling. I don't really know where she's at, but Christina's gone. Janelle, on the other, now is in a very strange situation with her Kody. And Janelle and Kody have always had a very loyal relationship. So now the next question is, will his relationship with Janelle start to fall apart as well? Because Christine and Janelle have been spending a lot more time together. They get together pretty frequently, even though they live in separate states. They traveled together right after Christine left the family and moved away. Christine and the kids are very close. So is Janelle going to pick a loyalty to Christine over Kody and just leave? If she's now debating it, I have a feeling that if there's going to be another one leave, it's not going to be Meri. It's going to be Janelle. Because now Janelle is the odd one out. She's not in a clique. Meri and Robin are in the clique. And her clique mate that Kody says is ruining the family has left. Could Janelle finally leave? Let's hope so. What are your thoughts about this, about the real reason or the catalyst that made her finally say no to Kody and end the marriage? Tell me in the comments below. Bye, guys.